So we are starting live right now. Thank you very much once again for everyone for joining. We really appreciate you. Today we want to actually have it quite differently. We want to actually talk about a newsletter article. You understand, which is going to be centered on today's topic. For those who are just joining, our topic today is Canada Express entry for nurses and healthcare workers. So that's today's webinar title. But most times we always use how would I call it now? We make use of slides. However, today we want to take it towards another dimension. So today we want to actually have a LinkedIn newsletter article discussed today in our webinars. So thank you very much once again. As you know, it's for those who have actually been joining us from now for some time right now. Let us know your name and let us know where you are joining us from. So I am Aziz, for instance, from Ontario, Canada. So let us know your location, let us know your name as you are actually joining us today in this wonderful episode of the webinar that we have on a monthly basis. For those who know us, we always have webinars on a monthly basis that we take, and this webinar is for September 2024. And as we said, the webinar title is Canada Express Entry for nurses, for healthcare professionals, and for what? And for those who are actually in medicine or those who, okay, thank you very much. I can see Ama Chagi Uchechuku from Nigeria. Thank you very much for joining. Really appreciate you joining us today. So, without wasting much time, this is going to be a webinar that we are going to have those that are outside, like those that are people watching from YouTube, and would also have some of our how would I call it now, some of our clients actually joining as well, because we want to educate everyone on what they need to know about migrating to Canada. Because there's something that I always see right now, that many things are happening in Canada. Many things are happening in Canada as regards immigration, and some people feel yes, the doors of Canada is closing, and the truth about it is yes, it is closing, but just for some certain um, key certain levels or certain groups of people. Canada is still very much open to all other immigrants, all other people that are not just the masses, but selected few. And who are the selected few today? We're going to be talking about them in the webinar titled Canada Express Entry for Nurses and Healthcare Workers. We still have other people that are required in Canada that are still being selected, but we'll talk about them another day. So, in order to join us today as we talk about the Canada Express entry for nurses and healthcare workers, you can also visit the link, the new LinkedIn newsletter article, which is this link which we have shared on the screen, and we are going to be talking about it from that particular link. We are going to be using that particular link on our LinkedIn newsletter. Now, moving on, the topic of the newsletter article that we wrote just today, actually, or we published today, is Canada still needs immigrant nurses and healthcare professionals amidst stricter visa policies. For many of you, you know that, take for instance, the visa policies that have been coming out of Canada has been restricting international students. You understand, those that are coming into Canada to study. It has also been restricting visitors, you understand, those that are coming for tourism, or sometimes in situations of what they call it, refugee claims, those that are coming to seek asylum. You understand, they have been much more stricter to people that are coming into Canada temporarily, basically, either as an international student, as a visitor, or even as a temporary foreign worker, because we have seen some restrictions on work permits. They have been restricting people that are coming into Canada and actually getting the spousal open work permits by virtue of their common law partner or their spouse studying in Canada. You understand, or maybe even people that they have reduced the quotas of open work permits. You understand, and we have seen some situations like that. But Today, we want to talk about the immigrant nurses and healthcare professionals that they are still looking for. Now, to start with, they said the Canadian healthcare system sector is one of the most vital and rapidly growing industries, offering abundant job opportunities for healthcare professionals. Because let's be frank with ourselves, why are people actually moving from one country to another? Is for quote and unquote greener pastures. And when we're talking about the greener pastures, many people are going or are coming into Canada so that they can actually get jobs. But we do always tell people that the kind of jobs you get in Canada is always different, or the kind of jobs you get in Canada are always based on the in demand occupations. They're always based on, you cannot just come into Canada and get any kind of job when you are not really much in need. Do you understand? And healthcare sector is one sector, is one industry that is always growing. There are always job opportunities. The only thing is that you may not have access to them. But in order to get access to them, in order to have that opportunity to be more than the other masses, to be more than people that are just, you understand, surviving in Canada, you have to do some certain things. And that's why we said, due to an aging population, an increasing demand for healthcare services, and a growing emphasis on quality care, healthcare professionals are in high demand across the country. Just I think last week month, for instance, one of our family friends, for instance, she got a license, or she passed a pharmacy, you understand, practicing examination, and that actually qualifies her to either, for instance, start up a pharmacy by herself, do you understand, or even join another pharmacy. And that is to tell you, and even before she even wrote the exam, she has been having opportunities to work in several pharmacies across Ontario. So with that, even though many people are complaining that there are no jobs, even though people are complaining that okay, they don't have the opportunity to come into Canada, there are many people that are already in Canada that are getting the jobs. And there are still many people that are coming outside of Canada, which we know, like some of our clients that had the opportunity to get selected, you understand, by the federal government of Canada and some provincial governments, and they are coming into Canada, which we'll still talk about them. They are coming into Canada without necessarily even already being in Canada, but by virtue of the fact that they are applying through the right way. So we want to talk about those opportunities because this presents numerous opportunities for individuals looking to build a career in healthcare, with professions like whether be it in nursing and pharmacy, in medical technology, you understand, which are the ones that are topping the list, but there are still other, you understand, healthcare professions out there that you can actually benefit from. So let's now talk about an overview, the overview of in-demand healthcare professions in Canada. There are still more than this, but we, for the benefit of this conversation today, we want to talk about the selected few that we have seen that are really much in high demand. Several healthcare professions, as we said, are in high demand across Canada, and it reflects in government labor reports and job market analysis. Now, let's take a look at some of the most sought after healthcare roles. Now, the reason why we said we should not just do slides is because I remembered the last webinar we had, some people were asking that how can they get access to some of the links that we put on the slide article. So if you go on this, you understand, newsletter article through the link that we have actually shared, you can have access to some of those links, all the things that we have talked about. You can, for majorly those people that actually go to the DIY pathway, if you want to work on your immigration yourself, you can visit some of these links and go through some of the things that are there, you understand, for free. Now, number one, they talked about registered nurses, RNs. That's like the abbreviations. They said registered nurses are consistently among the top in demand healthcare professionals. Now, according to the Canadian Institute for Health Information, CIHI, Canada had more than 440,000 regulated nurses in 2020, but the demand is continuously outpacing the supply. So what that means is that there are still hospitals that need more nurses. There are still some places where nurses are required. There are still some locations, there are still some healthcare institutions that are still in much demand or still needs, do you understand, nurses in high demand. Now, they talked about, especially in provinces like Ontario, I talked about Ontario for the pharmacy, for instance, that we said got our exam you understand, successful. British Columbia and Alberta are still requiring registered nurses in their drones. Now, another one is physicians and surgeons. I still remember when we walk around Ontario, for instance, in places like Brampton, do you understand, Mississauga and stuff, we always see vacancies. There are always vacancies whereby they are currently requesting people, physicians, family doctors, the need of, because there are a lot of patients, there are a lot of people that need the assistance of these people. So despite having more than 92,000 physicians in Canada, there remains a significant shortage, particularly in rural and remote areas. If you go to rural areas and remote areas, you'll see that there are always needs of physicians, you understand, and people that are medical practitioners. Now, they said the Canadian Medical Association, CIMA, reports that the need for general practitioners and specialists is expected to grow in the coming years. So it's not even a matter of this year alone. It's not a matter of 2024 alone. You understand? In 2025, in 2026, even down to 2028, there have been forecasts that they need what? They need healthcare practitioners. They need people that would actually work in the medicine fields. So three, we have talked about pharmacists. We said with the growing role of pharmacists and patient care, particularly in administering vaccines, in providing medical management, the need for licensed pharmacists is rising. There are an estimated 44,000 pharmacists working in Canada, but more are needed to meet the country's expanding healthcare needs. Now, I do always tell people that a lot of immigrants are coming into the country, and even those that are inside the country, because many times people always see problems, they always see issues. But if especially if you're an entrepreneur like me, I do try to look for what? I do try to look for opportunities, how I can actually benefit, the loopholes that, or the problems that the country is facing, that you can actually what? You can actually solve. If you are in the medical fields, for instance, as a pharmacist, for instance, in Nigeria, you can come into the country, do you understand, with your credentials and things, and be allowed, after you have taken some exams and you have been qualified to actually practice as a pharmacist, you can be allowed to open a pharmacy in Canada, or even join an already existing pharmacy, do you understand, to practice as a pharmacist, because they are always building structures in Canada, you understand, more buildings are coming up, more malls are being constructed, more cities are being, you understand, expanded, and they need more hands to actually work with the rising population in Canada. So if you are in any of these medical fields, you can have the opportunity to be someone. And we have seen it before. Like, for instance, I do talk about our own family doctor. Our own family doctor that is in Brampton, Ontario, is someone that is a Nigerian from Edo State, Nigeria. Do you understand? And though he has been here for some while, but he is now not only serving the Nigerian community, but also serving the Canadian community, because yes, he has taken his exams, he has been pre-qualified, he's, you understand, he's recognized, he's registered to actually practice as a family doctor, and he is making a whole lot of money, serving a whole lot of clients by the virtue of his skills. So it's not a matter of, okay, I'm not a Canadian or I'm not an Indian, so I cannot. In fact, we see that some Indians are there with him as his nurses, some are there with him as his, you understand, medical assistant, and he's like the owner, or let me say the person that actually runs that particular clinic that we go to, you understand. Yeah, and have him as our family doctor. So if you are someone from Nigeria, from Africa, you can also have the opportunity to practice here in Canada without any issues. Now, number four, medical laboratory technologists. Now, these professionals are crucial in diagnosing illnesses and are increasingly in demand, especially in advancement in medical testing and diagnostics. I remember one of our patients, or one of our clients, those patients now, one of our clients was talking about the fact that she is pregnant. Do you understand? And she actually booked an appointment with a family doctor. Um, and they told her that she has to go do some x-rays, she has to go do some, you understand, medical checkups, on blood testings and stuff like that. And the beauty of it is, she said, because she's a permanent resident, she went there, you understand, apart from the what they call it, on counter drugs she bought. The x-ray was free, the scanning was free, the blood work that they did was free. And we know, for instance, in Nigeria, if you had to do some of those things, you may have to pay hugely for it. It was free because she came in as a permanent resident. And now that she's pregnant, she's accessing some of those benefits, you understand, without paying a dime. But she's also meeting up with medical laboratory technologists that are actually undergoing those things for her, because people always fail to understand that, okay, in Nigeria we may have a lot of, maybe a doctor doing many things, having different roles, but in Canada there are different people doing different things. You understand? A family doctor has his own specialty. A medical laboratory technologist has his own specialty. Do you understand? A nurse has their own specialty. So, like, in this place, you can actually have a family doctor and also be referred to actually go to a medical laboratory. Do you understand? To actually get your blood samples and things done and everything done. And they need personnel that are there. Yes, we have seen some medical laboratories where there are a lot of personnel there, but they still actually fall short of, you understand, people that can actually work in that sector. So if you are someone that you're a medical laboratory technologist, you can of course be, you understand, in that particular niche. You can actually get qualified. And they said, as we have it here, the Canadian Society for Medical Laboratory Scientists, CSMLS, anticipates a shortage in laboratory technologists in the near future. And there are even some statistics to back this up, still in the newsletter article, which we'll talk about. Now, moving on. Five, personal support workers, PSWs, and healthcare aides. Many people always want to come in through this, and it's a very good profession. With the aging population, there is always an urgent need for PSWs to provide care for elderly patients in nursing homes, hospitals, and private residencies. This role has since increased demand. You understand, during the COVID-19 pandemic, highlighting its importance in the healthcare system. And for those people that don't know, what's the major need for Canada when it comes to immigration? The major need for Canada is that the reason why Canada really needs immigrants is because their population is actually aging. They have a lot of people that are leaving the workforce. A lot of people are retiring. You understand? There are no enough hands to actually support what, to support the economy to actually grow. So whether you like it or not, they still need immigrants. No matter how they, you understand, strict, they bring about strict policies for temporary residents. And I do tell people, it's all talking, or it's all affecting temporary residents, people coming as a visitor, as a student, you understand, as a temporary foreign worker. But if you are coming the right way, if you are coming the better way, which is coming as a permanent resident, you would always have that opportunity, especially when you are qualified for, you understand, some of the permanent residence programs. You always have that level hedge playing ground than someone that is just coming in as a temporary resident. Now, projected percentage of employment changes from 2021 to 2031. They said nursing practitioners are going to increase, or where they are going to need more of them. Do you understand? More than even physician assistants, more than physician therapy assistants. But even all these people are still needed. Occupational therapist assistants, home health and personal care aides, speech language pathologists, massage therapists, physical therapist aides, genetic counselors, athletic trainers. They are still going to be needed. You understand? Based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they will be needed. These occupations are still going to increase from time to time. They will still need more people. Do you understand? Than even what they have right now. Now, let's now look at some of the job trends, job market trends, and opportunities for nurses and healthcare workers. We have talked about them needing them. I've talked about the fact that yes, there's always a growing need. Let's now put some numbers to what we are saying. They said the job market for nurses and healthcare workers in Canada is experiencing significant growth with the following trends. And I do tell people, even though we have stricter policies that are affecting temporary residents, the government is still actually leaving out, you understand, the healthcare system, because they need them, whether they like it or not. There are not enough hands to actually what, take care of their old age people, even their young people. So as a result of that, they need more people to actually come in through medical, you understand, professions. So it's something that if you are in the medical profession, you have a very better chance. If you are not, if you even want to go into it, there are still other chances that you can use to actually get into the occupation and actually immigrate to Canada. Now, they said the aging population by 2030, it's estimated that 1 in 4 Canadians will be what? Aged 65 or older. You can visit the link to actually learn more about that. So, in other words, because of the aging population 65 or older, there is a driving demand for what? For healthcare services. Do you understand? Especially for chronic diseases and long-term care. We have what they call retirement homes in Canada, for instance. Many people are getting old and they are building more retirement homes for people. So those retirement homes need nurses, they need, you understand, personal support workers, they need people, you understand, other healthcare professionals who specialize in what? Elderly care to actually take care of them. Do you understand? Oyinbo, the way they or the white people, the way they actually do things is quite different from a typical African. A typical African can have his own hold or mother or father at home living with them. But when it comes to the way they do, once you are retired and you have reached a certain age, 65 or older, you may have to actually go into retirement home, especially if you can afford it. Do you understand? So that they can take adequate care of you with, you understand, for the later part of your parents or your family life. So as a result of that, there are always needs of people that are going to be taking care of them in those homes. So by 2030, there will still be more people, there will still be more demand. And something about Canada and other first world countries is that they don't wait until, okay, when the prediction of 2030 comes before they start actually actively working towards it. This year, 2024, 2025, they would always be, you understand, working towards that goal before that time, so that they are not just caught off guard when it finally dawns on them that they have an aging population. Now, number two, rural and remote opportunities. Many people focus on provinces or, you understand, cities like Toronto, you understand, Brampton, Mississauga, but there are still other rural areas. As they said, while healthcare job opportunities are abundant in urban areas, yes, they are abundant, no doubt, but many rural and remote communities still face shortages of qualified professionals. So if you are someone that, yes, you want to, and I do always tell people, rural communities, remote areas in Canada is still even better than some urban communities in Nigeria and in other African countries. So if you are someone that wants to actually come to Canada, you may actually do yourself a better advantage. You understand that going to some of those rural areas than being, because the competition, just like these things are very glaring. The competition in places like Toronto may be fierce. They may take the best of the best, and people will be saying they are not getting jobs, they are not getting opportunities. It's because you are focusing on the wrong things, at least to start with. You understand? To start with, you may be focusing on the wrong things. But if you go to other rural and remote communities, they can value you more, quickly get you, quickly want you to be part of them than you focusing on places like Toronto to actually work in. So provinces like Manitoba, like Saskatchewan and Newfoundland and Labrador, they are offering attractive incentives, and there's a link there. You can click on the link to learn about their incentives that we are talking about. Some of the incentives are relocation allowances, signing bonuses to healthcare professionals willing to work in these underserved areas. So if you are someone that, yes, you want to go work in some of those provinces that will pay you, that will literally pay you to come into those countries, go into those provinces and their cities, you can click on that link to learn about how to actually access the incentives. And these incentives, they are for foreigners, they are for immigrants, people that are coming from outside the country. Do you understand? So if you are someone that wants to get those benefits, do you understand, and stay in those places, you are committed to staying in those places, then you can actually sign up for some of those incentives as you understand, immigrate to Canada. Now, number three, we do talk about this in details, like a lot, because why? This is one of the things I used to come into Canada, and for many people that know, I came into Canada through STEM occupations: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Specifically, I came through the tech sector, and for the IT sector, you understand, I came in as a web developer. But apart from coming in as a tech expert, another way you can come in is as an health expert through the PNP programs. Several provinces have introduced immigration pathways for healthcare workers through their what? PNPs. offering faster routes to permanent residency for skilled professionals. Now, for example, we have the Ontario's Express Entry Healthcare Stream, and this healthcare stream, it is created basically to, for me, for instance, when I was coming, I came into the Ontario French speaker skilled worker program. Do you understand? French speaking skilled worker program, and it was under the targeted draw that was targeting tech experts. But there are still some other PNP programs like the healthcare stream that target what, people that are in the what, healthcare system, people that are medical practitioners. Do you understand? So it targets nurses, it targets medical technologists, it targets other healthcare professionals, reflecting the ongoing demand in the sector. And if you check it, I do always tell people, if you have three, four, five provinces that you are looking into, do you understand? You can stand a better chance of getting selected by one of them once you actually have their criteria and you follow through some of their what, some of their requirements. Do you understand? And their what, their selection process. Now, number four, another reason why there are needs of medical practitioners is growth of telemedicine. When they are talking about telemedicine, is the rise of telemedicine and virtual care system has expanded job opportunities for healthcare workers, particularly in roles such as nurse practitioners, telehealth coordinators, and medical consultants. There are some people that have years of experience. If you are in Nigeria or any other place and you have, you understand, 10 plus years of experience, 20 plus years of experience, you can come into Canada and start working as a consultant. You can come into Canada and with your wealth of knowledge, do you understand? You can actually go into telemedicine. And telemedicine basically is for, especially when the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the adoption of virtual care, making it a permanent fixture in the Canadian healthcare system. Many people were receiving care online. They were receiving care because, as we know, care is something that you actually have to be physical to actually receive. But that may be prior to 2019. After 2019, there have been a huge adoption of, you understand, virtual care. So you may be practitioners, you may be nurse practitioners, you may be medical consultants, and you may not necessarily need to be going to the hospital every day or to the clinic every day. Once you actually have some of these systems in place to actually make you work virtually. So if you are someone that can, like, you have advanced in that path of your life, you have advanced in that part of your profession, you can actually get paid by actually working virtually in Canada. And there are a lot of provinces that are needing people like that, experts like that can actually work, you understand, off the radar. Now we talk about some of the provinces that we have quite a lot of needs for people, and the regions, because again, it's all about the regions, it's all about the places you need to be focusing on. Do you understand? It's not everywhere in Canada that would basically need your expertise. It's not everywhere in Canada that will say that, okay, because you are what they call it, nurse aid, and some of them don't give a damn because they have a lot in their provinces already. They have a lot in their cities already. But if you go to some specific places, do you understand? You may actually get that benefit of, you understand, being looked upon as someone that is needed and being assisted through your what? Through your immigration pathway. Alberta, for instance, as they say, the outlook is a good outlook. All regions are requiring people. But when it comes to British Columbia, which is BC, Alberta is AB, British Columbia is BC, they are very good. They are needing people on Vancouver Island and Coast, Courtney, Caribou. Do you understand? Very well, very necessary. They are leading people a lot in those places than places like that are good, maybe like Lower Mainland. And if you look at some of these places, these are places that are more of the urban areas, Southwest and Thompson and Okanagan. They need people there, but again, it is not as pressing. It is not as in demand. So if you are looking for a job, for instance, for some people that want to look for job offers, you may put on the Canadian Job Bank specific places like Vancouver Island and Coast, Courtney, you understand, Caribou, to actually search for jobs, because those people, those places, they may be more willing to actually listen to you, more willing to give you a job than, you understand, focusing on the places that are, like, for instance, undetermined, like North Coast, Nekago, and Northeast of, you understand, British Columbia. Now, moving on, Manitoba is also a very good place that you can also look out for, like South Central, Southwest, North Central Winnipeg, Interlake, Parklands and North. These are places that are very good places that you can look for jobs, very good places that you can look to actually immigrate to, very good places that they need your expertise. Do you understand? They need, it's not a matter of I do always tell people there's a difference between wants and desires. The wants of Canada were international students. Do you understand? International students, their want is because they don't really need them that much as they need permanent residents. They don't really need them that much. Yes, it's not that they don't need them. Don't misquote me. But what I'm trying to say is, with the policies that they are bringing, restricting international students, it shows that they don't really need them as such. They need some certain few, but they don't need like millions. Just but permanent residents, especially people that are here to stay permanently, people that they know that yes, they are here to actually start their life fully in Canada. These are people that they are actually focusing on, and these are people that they would easily give jobs to. You understand, like in Manitoba that we talked about, in some of those very good locations. So if you are planning your immigration strategy, you need to be looking into some of those provinces. For some of our clients that we have worked with, for instance, we have some people that we have selected, do you understand? And they are already moving to some of these locations to actually get a better, you understand, future out of it. Now, New Brunswick, NB, is a very good location, and all regions in that place, because it's part of the northern and rural area, they are needing, you understand, healthcare professionals. Newfoundland and Labrador, NL, is also a good place where they are needing, in all their regions, they are needing healthcare professionals. Nova Scotia is also a very good place where in all their regions they are needing healthcare workers. Now, if you look at Northwest Territories, it is undetermined. All their regions is undetermined. We are not sure if they need people or not, but again, it's something you can also try out. Now, Nunavut, Nunavut is undetermined as well. All regions, if you get a job there, fine. But again, you can actually look into some of them. Now, provinces like Ontario is very good, all regions, but I do always tell people urban cities are more competitive. They are more competitive for you to actually get that opportunity to come into Canada than rural areas. So you may actually have to compete with the best of the best to actually come into Ontario. Do you understand? Prince Edward Island is also a very good place for you to actually look for jobs, or for you to actually relocate to. All their regions are very good. Quebec, very good. Some of our clients, for instance, that we chose Bass St. Lawrence for to actually relocate when we were working on their Quebec skilled worker program through our lawyer. The reason why our immigration lawyer chose one of those places for them is because he knows that yes, so if you are coming into Canada, you can get to earn more. You understand? You can get jobs easily in some of those places, even if it is not a place that maybe like it's not Montreal, for instance, because Montreal is where many people know about Quebec, like the central, you understand, the capital city of the country, of the province. But that does not mean that there are still not other places that you can actually get jobs, you can set up your life in. Do you understand? Like Capitale Nationale, like Chaudière, Appalaches, you understand? Centre de Québec, Laurentide, Abitibi, Témé, Témiscamingue, Mauricie, Saguenay, and Lake Saint Jean. Now, all these places are very good places for you if you are in the healthcare profession. You are looking to actually relocate. You are looking to, you understand, get jobs. Do you understand? These are places that you can actually look into to actually aid your job search and your relocation abroad. Now, Quebec also have some good places like Gaspésie, like Ile de la Madeleine, Estrie, Montérégie, Montréal, Laval, Lanaudière, Outaouais, Côte Nord, Nord du Québec. These are also good places that you can actually use to, you understand, get very good jobs, or to actually look into immigrating to. Some of these places even have, you understand, programs that you can actually use, you can check out to actually see how you can immigrate to them. Now, Saskatchewan, SK is also a very good place, like Swift Current, like Moose Jaw, like Saskatoon, like Bigger, like Yorkton, like Melville. Some of these places, especially those that worked through the Saskatchewan Provincial Nominee program with us, we applied for you and we selected some of these places when we were actually working towards you understand, expression of interest profiles, so that you can have better chances of getting selected. Now, the good places are Regina, which is the capital, Moose Mountain, Prince Albert, and Northern. Is good, but that may mean that you may have to struggle, or you may have to compete with other people going to some of those places. Now as well, Yukon is an undetermined place, but again, you can look at all the regions because it's a rural area, and you can have opportunities to actually migrate there as well. Now, let's look at some case studies, because people always say that, okay, how would I know if I'm qualified? What and what do I need to do, or what and what do I need to have? How can I compete with people? Do you understand? What do I need to know to be able to compete favorably with other people? So if you, for instance, you want to even still go to the capital cities, but you want to know what you have and what you can actually get, then there are some case studies we have for you. Now, there are some nursing opportunities in British Columbia, for instance, and British Columbia has seen a notable increase in the demand for registered nurses due to its aging population and expanding healthcare infrastructure. For British Columbia in 2023, British Columbia's government announced a 96 million investment to recruit and retrain nurses. So you can have the opportunity. Some people don't know this. There was one time we were talking about life in Canada as a permanent resident, and when I and one of partners were talking, Mrs. Joy Ophelia Yebovi, and she was talking about some of the advantages she's benefiting in. You understand, in Manitoba. Now, people don't know this, that you can come into Canada as a permanent resident and be paid by the government literally to actually study. You'll be paid by the government to get trained easily. Like, for instance, I remember Mrs. Joy Ophelia Yebovi was talking about one of the opportunities that are in what, Manitoba. And she said, like, in the Manitoba stats, do you understand? They were actually helping them, training them to actually start up new professions. You understand? The profession she did in Nigeria was different from what she's doing in Canada, but it was because she saw the opportunity that the government was investing in the immigrants, and it was an investment that was solely meant for permanent residents and citizens of Canada, not meant for temporary residents. Do you understand? So some of these monies, and I think we have talked about some of it, like including funding for internationally educated nurses to become certified in the provinces. If you are an internationally educated nurse, you are an educated practitioner foreign in your foreign countries, you can come into Canada and get the province, get the government, get the organizations that you are going to be part of to actually invest in you, you understand, by helping you with some of the funding that you will need to actually study, to practice in the country and the province. Now, this investment has led to increased job opportunities, higher wages, and additional support for nurses entering the BC healthcare. So there's a link there. You can also click on the link to learn more about the British government, you understand, aid, and see how you can also benefit as an healthcare professional coming into Canada. Now, the second case study that I would like to talk about today is the case study of pharmacy sector growth in Ontario. The province of Ontario has experienced significant growth in its pharmacy sector, especially with the expansion of pharmacist roles in administering flu shots, COVID-19 vaccines, and providing what, medication reviews. So this growth has created job opportunities in both the urban areas and the rural areas, with an increased needs for what, licensed pharmacists in community pharmacists, pharmacies, hospitals, and long-term care facilities like the retirement home I talked about. So if you are someone that you are a pharmacy in Nigeria, you can also start working on getting your license in Canada in order to be able to practice in Canada as a pharmacist. We talked about one of our family friends that she just got her exam successfully passed, and you understand, she's working towards getting a license now, and she will be able to either open a pharmacy or join some of these community pharmacies or hospitals or long-term care facilities. So you too can also have that opportunity if you come into Canada with the, you understand, certification you need. Some people don't even know it, that even some of the certificates you already have in your home country, they can be recognized in Canada, especially when you apply for, you understand, the educational credential assessment and the licensing. They can be. You don't need. Some people will say, okay, I need to go and study pharmacy in Canada again. You may not be wasting time and money and effort, because some of those things you may already have the credentials to actually back it up. All you just need to do is maybe take an exam, or you understand, do some short-term programs, not long-term programs like years programs for you to actually practice. Now, relevant statistics on job healthcare job opportunities in Canada. They said, according to Job Bank Canada, the employment outlook for registered nurses and registered psychiatric nurses is rated as good to very good in most provinces. Just like I've showed you up, you understand, to in most provinces, with an expected growth rate of 3.4% annually from 2022 to 2027. What does that mean? That means that, you know, the restriction on temporary residents is not affecting some sectors. Do you understand? They are still needing permanent residents. They are still needing professionals in these fields. From 2022, that was like last 2 years, till even next 3 years. So it is not a matter of, oh, there are restrictions in Canada now, and because of that, I'm scared. I will not. If you have what it takes, if you have the things that they are needing in Canada, you are still expect. And this is a thing that you can go on the link that is there. You will see the reports where they talked about it extensively, and it is not just something in writing. It's something that we have seen that they are still picking people on the express entry pool. They are still picking people on the provincial level, people that are in the healthcare occupations. Do you understand? They are still selecting people almost every month. So if you are qualified, you can still get selected. Now, another one is the Canadian Occupational Projection System, COPS. COPS predicts over 54,000 job openings for doctors, dentists, and veterinarians by 2025. And this is something that, let's even forget 2025. Even in 2024 that we are right now, there are still job openings, but it may not be available for someone that is temporary in the country. It may not be open to international students, to foreign temporary workers, to visitors. But those are things that, if you are qualified enough, if you have what it takes as a permanent resident, you can get the opportunity, you understand, to actually practice. Now, they said the Conference Board of Canada reported that the healthcare sector is expected to generate over 800,000 jobs opportunities by 2030. You understand? Now, we are talking about all the healthcare sector in whole, not just selected doctors, dentists, and veterinarians. So, driven by retirement and the demand for healthcare services, we have talked about it before that the aging population of Canada are retiring. Many people cannot work again as they used to work. So they need young minds. They need people that are going to actually replace those people that are actually getting old and retiring. So if you are someone that you are still young, you are still in your prime ages, you can still come into Canada. Come. What I do always tell people is, firstly, work on your status, work on your papers, work on your what your status in Canada first before you think about jobs. Jobs are going to be available. You understand? You will still be able to do jobs when you come into Canada, but focus on what will allow you to even have access to those jobs in the first place. And sometimes you getting access to those jobs may not be for you to come in as a student, as we have seen this year, as they are limiting the number of intake. It may not be for you to come in as a visitor and come and be looking for how to switch, even though, of course, that policy has been cancelled now. You cannot switch as a visitor to, you understand, temporary foreign worker in Canada again. Now, let's look at the Canada eligible criteria for permanent residence. If you want to be a permanent resident, because we have been talking extensively about you coming into Canada as a permanent resident. If you want to come into Canada as a permanent resident, what are those eligibility criteria for you to look into as a permanent? And I do tell people, some of these things you have the power to work towards it. There are some that you may not really have the power to work over. And that's why I do tell people, focus on the things that you have the power to actually work on. It's just simple. Focus on those ones. And what are those things you focus on? For your age, for instance, age of an applicant, you may not, you can't cut short your age. So you don't have the power on that. You can't cut short your age. Do you understand? You don't have the power over that. Your age is your age. But if you look at your work experience, you can work on that. You can get more work experience. You can get more education or skill levels. Do you understand? You can be able to actually learn more language and become much more qualified, you understand, through some of the exams that they have talked about. But approved job offer, just as it is difficult for even permanent residents and citizens to get jobs if they are not well qualified for it, it may be difficult for you to actually get jobs from abroad. Do you understand? In Nigeria. So I do tell people, just like I did when I was when I was coming to Canada, it was these three things I focused on: work experience, education, and language capability. Those were the three things I focused on. Do you understand? Because they were the ones I have the power over. My age was my age. I can't do anything about my age. Approved job, if you don't have millions of, you understand, naira, or you don't have a lot of time to start looking for jobs, which we may not even guarantee your job offer. Do you understand? It may not be wise for you to focus on that. Now, let's now analyze each of these eligibility criteria one by one, especially for those that are in the healthcare professions. If you're in the healthcare profession, you have to notice that the express entry system, it offers a pathway for skilled healthcare workers, and that's the first thing we'll talk about. We have talked about provincial nominee programs too as well. Now, including nurses, physicians, pharmacists, and medical technologists to gain permanent residence in Canada. Now, understanding the eligibility criteria is crucial for healthcare professionals aiming towards navigate the express entry system successfully. Now, let's now break down the requirements, focusing on the factors like the language proficiency, the education, the work experience, and all other essential components. Now, to be eligible to for the express entry pool under these programs, healthcare workers must meet the following criteria. We have talked about the work experience, education, language proficiency, proof of funds, age, and the rest of them. But now, recognizing the importance of language proficiency, education, and work experience, if we are talking about the CRS, the comprehensive ranking system, this is a system that assigns points based on factors such as language proficiency, education, work experience, which are particularly relevant for healthcare workers. See, don't forget, that's why I do tell people, especially those that come to work with us. I said there are just three things you as a client need to focus on. Our immigration lawyer will focus on the rest, you understand, in your application and everything. But you just need to focus on three things that you would work on. And the first thing is your language proficiency. The language proficiency is one of the most critical factors in determining the express entry eligibility and ranking. Now, since healthcare professionals often interact with patients, because why do you need the language proficiency? You can't be coming into Canada, for instance, and you speak in Indian or you speak Yoruba, and the patients that you want to work with, the colleagues you want to work with, are not from your location. For instance, I am speaking English now to you. Imagine that I was speaking Yoruba or speaking Hindi, a language you don't understand. We won't be able to have that strong communication skill. You understand? We won't be able to communicate well. So strong communication skills in English and or in French, they are quite essential if you want to be at the forefront working with people, you understand, on a day-to-day basis. So healthcare professionals must pass approved language test. People always tell me that, can I come into Canada without IELTS test? I will tell you yes. But the truth about it is you can come into Canada without IELTS test, but you may need PTE, Persian test of English. You may need CELPIP for English, any of those three exams. You may need it. So people ask me, is it possible I can come without IELTS test? I will tell you yes. You understand? Because there are other options you can choose from. You can choose from PT, you can choose from CELPIP if you want to come in as a permanent resident too. Or you say we have had people that didn't even do English, like from francophone countries, even people from anglophone. If you are someone that is only French you can speak, you can take TEF Canada examination, test d'évaluation de français, or TCF Canada examination, test de connaissance de français. You understand, for your French proficiency, because that will prepare you well to actually interact with people, you understand, in Canada when you land. Now, achieving high scores on language tests can significantly boost your CRS points, especially when you are focused on express entry. You understand? For example, if you have a CLB 9 or higher, and when we're talking about CLB 9, that does not mean that you have band 9, band 9, band 9 in everything, like in speaking, listening, reading. No. When we're talking about CLB 9, I think the last time I checked, CLB 9 means you have band 7 in speaking, band 8 in listening, band 7 in writing, and band 7 in what? In reading. So there's a difference between CLB level and band levels. Do you understand? So if you can have that, you understand, in the four abilities, it can significantly add considerable points under the skill transferability factor. And people don't know this. They just focus on, oh, what do I need to have in my band scores? There are some factors we call the skill transferability factor that will give you additional points based on how well you perform in not only your language, but even in your experience, which we'll talk about. But let's take a particular example. A nurse with a strong English skills of CLB 9 plus could gain an additional 50 to 100 CRS points, making it easier to receive an ITA, invitation to apply for permanent residence. So if you are someone that you are looking at being a nurse, do you understand? Because as I told you, the stakes are high. If you are focusing especially on provinces that are highly competitive, Ontario, for instance, British Columbia, for instance, you are focused on express entry pool, you may need to have higher scores. Do you understand? There's someone that is focusing on provincial nominee programs. As I said, I came in through PNP, you understand? So I do talk about PNP, but if you are focused on something higher, you may need higher points for it. Now, education, the level of education greatly influences the CRS scores that you have. And there's a caveat to this thing. I do tell people healthcare professionals with higher education levels, such as bachelor's or master, it is particular to those people that are in the professional occupations. If you have a bachelor's or master's in like nursing, in medicine, in pharmacy, you will be awarded more points than me that I just have bachelor's in linguistics, because it's not a professional course. Sorry to say, I just waste 4 years. Even though, yes, they'll say you can study, you can be anything with linguistics. When you come into the normal world, you realize that it is not anything you can do. You understand? As a bachelor degree holder or a master degree holder in some of these professional courses, you may have more points than someone that just have bachelors in other programs. So obtaining, but even that, we do tell people, even if you have bachelors and that's only what you have, you may actually get maybe PGD, postgraduate diploma, to boost your points. Some of you have OND. Do you understand? You may need HND. You may have the two to boost your points, OND and HND. So bachelor's, for instance, is good, master's is good, but there are still some ways you can actually get more points without even having some of those degrees. Do you understand? So obtaining an educational credential assessment, ECA report, is necessary for healthcare workers with foreign what? With foreign qualifications, as it verifies the equivalence of their education with to Canadian standards. If you want to say, for instance, oh, I can practice as a what? As a medical laboratory technologist in your country. You have to show them that even if you did not do or you didn't go to school in Canada to practice, to study rather, to study medical laboratory technologies, you have to be able to show them through your ECA report that you have a credential that is more or less equivalent to a Canadian degree or to a Canadian certificate that qualifies you to work as a medical laboratory technologist. Do you understand what I'm saying? So for medical professionals, for instance, how would you even know what your standards are? Like some of you now, if you have your ECA report, you may check the Medical Council of Canada to see if that your ECA qualifies for you to actually work in Canada as maybe like a pharmacist or a medical laboratory technician, as I talked about. Or you can check the Pharmacy Examining Board of Canada to undo the assessment. That's one another thing. ECA reports, there are some like World Education Services helps with ECA reports for like linguistics that I talked about or other qualifications. But you may have to actually go through some of the other what they call it, some of the other organizations that are in charge of ECAs, like Medical Council of Canada and Pharmacy Examining Board of Canada, to check the equivalence of what you have to the equivalence of what is prevalent in Canada. And for instance, if you have like for example, if you're a pharmacist with a master's degree in pharmacy, you can score more points than someone with only a bachelor's degree. If you have OND and HND, you can score more points than someone that just has a bachelor's degree. You understand? Increasing their chances to what? To actually get selected in the express entry pool. Now, the third thing I do tell people to focus on is work experience. Work experience. Why? Because the relevant work experience is a key criterion for express entry eligibility. So, as a nurse or as a doctor or as other healthcare workers, you can earn points, more points for both your Canadian and foreign work experience. But again, many of you may not be in Canada already. I remember when I was working on my own Canada immigration, I didn't have any Canadian experience, and it is okay. You understand? It is okay to not have Canadian work experience, but your foreign I even tell people sometimes it may be beneficial for you to start your permanent residence application from Nigeria or from your home country, because with that, you'll be able to go into the organizations that you have worked with and get what we know as the job reference letter easily from them. You understand? In by person. Do you understand? In order to show your foreign work experience. So the combination of foreign work experience with Canadian work experience or advanced, now look at that. They say or advanced language skills. So what you lack in Canadian work experience, you can get it in what? In advanced language skills that will lead to you even having higher scores under the CRS tool. So some people, you may not have Canadian work experience. That is exactly what I did. I did have Canadian work experience, but I had foreign work experience from Nigeria. I didn't have Canadian work experience, but I had advanced language skill in IELTS and in TEF Canada. So it was those two things I used together with my work experience to boost my scores for me to get selected through the Ontario French speaking skilled worker program. Do you understand? Now, example, a nurse with 5 years of foreign work experience combined with 2 years of Canadian work experience and or CLB9 language proficiency and can maximize their CRS points, making them a strong candidate for express entry. So if you have the foreign work experience of 5 years, you have the CLB9, or you have the foreign work experience with 2 years Canadian experience, those can actually help you, you understand, better your chances to come in under the express entry. Now, additional factors impacting your eligibility for healthcare workers. Now, provincial nominee program, PNPs. Many provinces have streams targeting healthcare professionals through PNPs. Do you understand? And receiving a provincial nomination adds 600 points to a Canadian's to a candidate CRS score, virtually guaranteeing an ITA for permanent residence. And this is where many of us that are in Canada, we focused on when we were coming into Canada. I focused on PNPs. Why? Because with the 600 points they will give me under the CRS2, it would more or less guarantee me to come into Canada as a permanent resident. Than you that you are focusing on. Some people will say they are focusing on job offer. It's not that it's not good, it's good, but a valid job offer from a Canadian employer can add between 50 points. Some people don't even know, they think it's 200 points. That is all jobs. All jobs cannot give you 200 points. 50 points is for skilled jobs, you understand, but 200 points is for managerial jobs. So 200 CRS points, depending on the positions, you understand, skill level. If you are a teacher, for instance, the most points you can have in the CRS is 50 points if you get the job. Do you understand? But if you are maybe like a sales manager, you are a director, you are something in the managerial post, you can get up to 200 points. But before you say if you get managerial post, as you understand, someone that is from Nigeria or from other countries, you said you go when. Do you understand? So that is why I do focus on the one that has higher chance. And if you look at even the people that they are picking, many people that they are picking, they fall under the 500 ranges and 400 ranges. So if you get a PNP that gives you 600 points, do you understand? More or less, you are guaranteed PR. You understand? But if you get 50 points, you can have a job offer and still not be guaranteed PR. Do you understand? It happens. It happens. It's not a story that is. It happens. Do you understand? There are some jobs that you may even get that are not even qualified for permanent residence. But I've never seen any PMP that you get that they will say doesn't qualify for permanent residence. It's all of them because the government of the province have already stamped you that yes, this person, they need this person in their province. So you will get it. But as a job of a Canadian employer, it may become ineligible to actually what, you understand, to actually employ foreign workers. So that may, we have had situations of people that will contact us that will say that, oh, my employer after getting a job, he was not qualified to actually, you understand, get people from abroad. So as a result of that, they actually rejected my application. It happens for work permit holders or work permit applicants and also permanent residents. So be well informed. Now, the next thing is for you to identify the organization that is responsible for actually recognizing your healthcare profession. Now, there are some organizations that are responsible for what? Recognition. And they have different locations in Canada. For regulated jobs, because many of the healthcare jobs we have in Canada are regulated. If you want to practice as a nurse, as a physician, as you, they are regulated. So you have to know the regulatory body or the apprentice office, the apprenticeship office that is in charge in the province or territory in which the certification, the licensing, or the registration is required by law. In some regulated jobs, you don't really need to actually have license. They will just say, okay, maybe if you have a professional association or an apprenticeship office in the province or territory in which there's voluntary certification, licensing, or registrations that is available but not required by law. I remember, for instance, for my own because I'm in school right now, or I'm to start my program soon as under what immigration and citizenship law. Do you understand? And I had the opportunity to actually register under the Canadian Association of Professional Immigration Consultants. Do you understand? Do you understand? I was allowed in that professional association to join. Do you understand? Without having a license yet. Do you understand? Those are for non-regulated. Do you understand? But if you are regulated, you may have to actually be registered, you understand, by some regulation bodies. I will talk about some of the regulation bodies, you understand, under the various medical professions we have. Now, if you are also under non-regulated occupations, your employers, whether be it public or private organizations and businesses anywhere in Canada, may actually require you to apply for a vacant position, and some employers may require that you apply for voluntary certifications, licenses, and registrations. It may not be compulsory, but they may just require it. Now, let's move on to understanding the process of credential recognition for healthcare professionals. If you are an healthcare professional, now, even as we go on, if you have any questions, drop it on the comment section. I would like to actually get your comments or your questions or any clarifications you like to ask. If you are under the healthcare industry, credential recognition is the process by which Canadian authorities assess what your education, your training, and your work experience of what internationally educated healthcare professionals, IEHPS, to determine if they meet the Canadian standards. Now, this step, as they say, is very essential for healthcare professionals such as nurses, doctors, pharmacists, physiotherapists, medical technologists who want to what practice their profession in Canada. So, for example, nurses have to approach the National Nursing Assessment Service (NNAS), and physicians have to go through the Medical Council of Canada in order to actually get recognized, to get their credentials recognized. Now, what are the tips for healthcare professionals navigating the credential recognition and licensing? Now, you have to note, once your credentials are recognized by, you understand, the educational credential assessment, healthcare professionals must obtain a license to practice in their respective fields. And I do always divide it into ECA is for you to get to immigrate or for you to get selected for immigration. But licensing is for you to practice and for you to start work as a professional, you understand, in that particular in that particular province. So licensing requirements are set by the provinces and territorial regulatory bodies, meaning that each province or territory has its own set of rules, its own processes and fees that you pay to actually get licensed. So the first tip you need to do when you are navigating the credential assessment and licensing is to research regulatory bodies early. You understand? Even before you get selected for immigration, learn some of these provinces that have their regulatory bodies and their requirements. Healthcare professionals should research the specific requirements for their profession and their desired province early in the process so that they are not caught off guard and they can even start it before they actually immigrate to Canada. Number two, prepare for examinations. As I've said, some of you may have exams like the licensing exams such as NCL, ECRN for nurses, the nursing, and this is a link that you can click to, and the MCCQE for doctors. You understand? They may be challenging exams, but you have to write it because it's important for you to prepare thoroughly by using the study guides. They always have study guides, and take preparatory courses and understand the text, the exam format. Sometimes you may have the knowledge of things, but you may not pass if you don't actually study and practice. So you may need to practice and study and prepare well for the exams before you go for it. Sometimes some provinces have what we know as bridging programs. So you can use bridging programs to come into Canada and practice that profession because many provinces offer bridging programs designed to help internationally educated healthcare professionals to meet the Canadian standards. So let's say, for instance, there are some courses that you were not able to take in your Nigerian um, university that you studied maybe medicine, for instance, and they want you to take some of those courses here, you may just use the programs to actually get guidance on licensing, get to actually prepare for exams, get to improve your language, and to also adapt to cultural differences in Canada. You also have to be patient and persistent because the credential recognition and licensing process can be lengthy, you understand, and complex. But if perseverance is the key. If you are patient enough and you stay informed and proactive, you understand, it can also help you as a healthcare professional to successfully navigate the process. Now, with that being said, we come to the conclusion of this. And in the conclusion, basically, what we are trying to tell you is that, firstly, healthcare workers such as nurses, doctors, pharmacists, and medical technologists have excellent opportunities to actually qualify for express entry if they meet the eligibility criteria. So, but by focusing on improving three things, which we talked about: improving your language proficiency, obtaining an accurate educational credential assessment, and gaining relevant work experience, healthcare professionals can maximize their CRS scores and increase their chances of receiving an ITA for permanent residence in Canada. Now, the trends indicate that there would always be a continued growth driven by the aging population, evolving healthcare practices, and advancements in technology, making Canada again still an attractive destination for healthcare workers seeking rewarding careers. So, with the high demand for healthcare professionals across the country, the express entry system still offers a promising, you understand, pathway for those seeking to establish their careers in Canada. And you can click the link to actually get started and to learn more about it. So, we come to the end of that. If you have any question, drop it on the comment section. I think we have done justice to explaining all this in details. If, for instance, you need more clarifications on it, you can always reach out to us even after it. Once you drop a comment, for instance, on this link, on this YouTube channel, or even on the LinkedIn link that we have there, we would respond to your questions. So, if we have any questions, let's ask right now. If not, we would have to call it a day. And okay, so thank you very much, everyone, and I do hope you have a nice day ahead.